In today's show, will the Blazers ever lose again? Their most fun win of the season, now 2 in a row against the T-Wolves. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking about the Blazers' best and most enjoyable victory of the season. Break up the Blazers, winners of 2 straight. They sweep the Wolves in a home back-to-back against Minnesota. And I think this was their most satisfying, their most entertaining, and their best win of the year. How about it? How freaking about it? Who could have seen this coming? Not the prognosticators, including sponsor of the show, FanDuel, who had the Blazers as double-digit dogs at home coming into the game. And believable dogs, right? We'll get into all of it. We'll do our fastest recap in the West. Shaedon Sharpe was fantastic. Donovan Clingan played the best game of his young career. He was phenomenal in the fourth quarter. A absolute force for the youngster down the stretch of this game. We'll talk about both those gentlemen. I thought Chauncey Billups pressed the right buttons in this game. He made choices, sort of had to think outside the bun a little bit and made the right choices to make it all happen. And I think more importantly and most importantly, you saw a little glimpse of the future. It was right there on Wednesday night at the Moda Center, hooping. Let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers win this game 106-98 against the Wolves. They're down 23-33 after one. They're down 10. The Wolves have a 10-point lead. The Blazers have turned the ball over 7 times in the quarter. I didn't even think they were playing that poorly. I thought Shaedon Sharpe actually had a really nice start to the game, but too many turnovers. It's never going to be kind to you. And then they stopped turning the ball over in the second quarter. They had just won over the first 10 minutes of the second quarter and gave themselves an opportunity. And that opportunity they seized, and they also just locked up Minnesota, sort of. It was tied 48-48 at halftime. Minnesota just 15 points in the second quarter. I actually thought watching this game that the Wolves got whatever shot they wanted in the second quarter. That wouldn't stand for the whole game, but I thought the Wolves generated a bunch of clean catch-and-shoot three-point looks, which is what they want to do. They take 43s a game. They're one of the league leaders coming into this game in three-point percentage. They're a high-volume, high-accuracy three-point shooting team. That's kind of what they've morphed into. And I thought they generated clean looks in this game. In the second quarter, I thought the Blazers were really lucky to not be down big. And it's like, well, Minnesota's getting what they want. Maybe this is going to turn south for them. And it didn't, because the Blazers were much, much more attentive in the third quarter about what looks they gave up. They made it was not nearly as easy. The Wolves never shot well, right? But the Blazers, they cleaned up some of the just like easy, particularly corner looks that they were giving up, and some bad rotation stuff in the first half that didn't really show up in that third quarter. 76-76 though after 3. You're heading in the fourth quarter. It's crunch time. The Wolves are, the Blazers are playing great at this point, and great might be an overstatement. The Blazers are playing tough, and they're hanging in this game, and they have a very real chance to win because they haven't wilted at any point. And they just lock the Wolves up in the opening 5.5 minutes of the quarter. Minnesota, to begin the fourth quarter, makes one of their first 11 shots. They missed 10 of 11 to open the fourth. And during that stretch, over the first 5 minutes and 37 seconds, the Wolves scored just 2 points, and Donovan Clingan blocks 4 shots. In a 5.5-minute stretch to open the fourth quarter, a 20-year-old rookie gets out on the court and starts locking down the paint, and the Blazers build their lead. But not a massive one, right? The Blazers aren't running away and hiding. They're up 6 with 5:24 left after the Wolves have finally okay, with the lid is off the basket. We've made a second basket. Jeremy Grant takes a fall away mid-range jumper that hits the front rim and comes off high and soft. And you know who loves a tip jam? That's Shaedon Sharpe. Look out below. Shaedon Sharpe comes in out of nowhere, glides up higher than anyone can imagine, and throws down a huge tip dunk. Cocks the ball back off the rebound. So smooth, so fluid. Dude's been really good in the opening. He was really good in the first half, and I think the middle two quarters, really good in the first quarter. Middle two quarters, a little bit quiet. Emphatically announces that he's going to be just fine. Thank you for asking. Place goes nuts, right? The arena goes bonkers. It's rocking. The bench is going crazy. One of the Blazers security guys trying to hold back everybody on the bench. Everybody's going nuts. Jeremy Grant said he was on the ground because he missed the shot and fell over, as Jeremy Grant was wont to do on those mid-range jumpers. He said he didn't even really see it. He's just looking up at him like, oh. Donovan Clingan said he was right under the rim, oh my goodness. Clingan said he'd never really seen Sharpe jump that high because of the injuries to him in the early season that prevented him from really getting after it. This was DC's first taste, and he had a front row seat. My goodness, the man can fly. But the Wolves weren't done yet. That dunk put the Blazers up 8. But this was a game, a 5-point game with 2.5 minutes left. And you know what they do? They turn the ball over to Shaedon Sharpe and say, bring us home, brother. Sharpe drives to the rim and puts the Blazers up 7. Wolves go down and score. Sharpe hits a pull-up 3. Wolves go to put the Blazers up 7. Wolves go down and score. Sharpe drives to the rim again around Rudy Gobert and finishes to put the Blazers back up 7. And then, finally, 51, clock ticking under a minute. Shaedon Sharpe gets Anthony Edwards on him, drives hard left, and just does what scorers do. As soon as he felt contact, put his arms right through Edwards' arms that were, he was a little hand check or a little, physical defense, and draws a foul, gets 2 free throws, hits them both. Blazers back up 7. From the 2:22 mark, Shaedon Sharpe scores on 4 consecutive possessions for the Blazers, 9 points in about a minute and 30 stretch to keep the Wolves at bay. Each bucket and the free throws put the Blazers back up 7 as the Wolves were threatening under 2 minutes. Bang, Shaedon Sharpe. Threatening under a minute 30. Bang, Shaedon Sharpe. Threatening under a minute. You need to score. It's going to get dicey. Bang, Shaedon Sharpe. Donovan Clingan blocks 5 shots in the fourth quarter. Shaedon Sharpe delivers 13 points, including 9 in the final 90 seconds, and the Blazers win 106-98. That's your fastest recap in the West. And yeah, if you're a new listener, sometimes the fastest recap in the West takes 7.5 minutes. Yeah, I want to talk a bunch about Shaedon Sharpe and Donovan Clingan. This was a career high for Sharpe. 33 points to go along with 6 boards. He had 14 early in the first half, at 13 in the fourth quarter, delivered when they needed him to bring it home. Donovan Clingan flirts with a freaking triple-double. Nobody's doing it with blocks. 17 points, 12 boards, 8 blocked shots, including 5 in the fourth quarter. Donovan Clingan, at 20 years old, starts because the Blazers were playing without DeAndre Ayton. They're playing without Anthony Simons. I'll talk about a little bit more about him in a moment. So you're starting the future. Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, Donovan Clingan alongside Jeremy Grant and Tumani Kamara, and the Blazers win this game on the backs of Shaedon Sharpe in year 3, finding his wind in his 4th game of the season, and Donovan Clingan, his rookie campaign, just looking excellent in start number 2 for him. Excellent. It severely outplayed Rudy Gobert on both ends of the court. Let's talk more about those gentlemen in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book, and it's the place to tackle all of the NFL action that you could possibly want, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view play-by-play, and so much more. And it's all right there on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. Donovan Clingan was excellent down the stretch. Excellent. A dominant paint performance. The Wolves go half of the fourth quarter, essentially, 5.5 minutes of the fourth quarter with 2 points. And Clingan's blocking four shots during that stretch. I actually thought heading into the fourth quarter, I'm kind of take you behind the scenes a little bit. I'm sitting there on press row. I got my notebook, I got my pen out, and I'm kind of planning out how I'm going to talk about the game, right? Like, I'm not making final decisions. I do write in pen. I was going to say I'm not putting it in pen. I do write in pen, but I'm kind of forming my thoughts and taking notes to kind of make sure I'm sort of organized. And I'm thinking, Clingan's been really good. He has a double-double at this point, and he's blocking shots, and I thought he played well. And he's going to end up with, playing the most minutes that he ever has in his career. And it's like, it wasn't a very aesthetically pleasing game through 3 quarters. Like, the offense is still a little clunky. He made his free throws, which was I thought a really nice thing to see. Went 5 of 5 from the free throw line early, but he doesn't have this. The offense is still a little bit clunky. He's really forceful as opposed to graceful when he's in the paint trying to score, and he just kind of scores by virtue of being gigantic. And then he had one of the most dominant stretches that I can recall from a Blazer big man. Like, he was channeling Theo Ratliff and Bill Walton at the same time. Like, he was just, he opened the quarter just absolutely shutting down the paint. And here's 2 things that I really like about this performance. One, prior to the game, there's a lot of hemming and hawing about how much can Donovan Clingan play and his wind and his all that. And so reporters are asking Chauncey Billups before the game, how many minutes can he play? And Chauncey goes, we're going to try to get more out of him. He played 21 minutes the prior night, and he's going to start again. And they need him, and so, but Chauncey says somewhere in the 18 to 24 range is what we'll aim for. And Donovan Clingan played 31 minutes and 29 seconds, and he would have played 33, but he got kneed in the hip. It looked like he got kneed in the groin, but he said after the game it was his hip on a drive late. Julius Randle went right at him. Clingan met him at the summit and blocked the shot, and for his troubles, Julius Randle hit him with his kneecap in the hip. I don't think it was malicious, but it did look very painful. And Clingan had to come out briefly because he was limping, and he kind of signaled to the bench I need to come out. And Chauncey Billups just didn't take a timeout. He's like, nah, he's been too good. Stay in there and tough it out. But eventually they did very briefly put Denny Avdia in, and then the Wolves scored a couple points against a small lineup. And he said, okay, just kidding, go back in there, DC. DC would have played 33 minutes without that brief trip to the bench there at the end of the game. He was big minutes. And, obviously, after the game, he said he was sitting down and saying, I'm a little sore, and with my hip is a little sore. But other than getting hit by Julius Randle, I don't think he looked like he tired down the stretch. If anything, I think he got more comfortable down the stretch of the game because he was kind of figuring out the rhythm of what Minnesota wanted to do. And Minnesota couldn't make anything in this game. They were 7 of 39 from 3. Anthony Edwards was 0 of 9 from 3. Dante DiVincenzo, Big Ragu, 0 of 6 from 3 off the bench. They couldn't make anything. Nickeil Alexander-Walker hit 2 threes early and finished with just 3 made total. Naz Reid 2 of 8 from 3 and got some good looks that he didn't knock down. Anthony Edwards had a big one late that would have cut the lead to 2 and just missed it. They couldn't make anything, but then Clingan also shut off the paint. He shut off their other option, of attack. If you can't get shots to fall, attack the rim. You can attack the rim, not against that dude. But here's what I love. The other thing I love about Clingan's game. Clingan picks up 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes and 28 seconds of the game. The second foul's a little dubious. It was like a rebound. He's going for the defensive rebound, offensive rebounds, and he kind of turns, and the ball's over his head, and he clipped. I believe it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but it might have been Jaden McDaniels. But whoever it was, he clipped a Wolf wing, and then that guy fell down. But he like, it was more like the dude stepped on his foot than Donovan Clingan kicked him. Stepping on your foot when you're kind of mildly out of control, is that a foul? I guess. I not always. I will say that, not always. But so Clingan has 2 fouls 2.5 minutes into the game, and it's like, yeah, this is gonna be a short night for him, right? Like but Chauncey leaves him in the game. He eventually did take him out a little bit early to get out of foul trouble, but he left him in the game immediately. And then Clingan picked up his 3rd foul with 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter. He had no fouls in the middle of the game for basically almost 4 full quarters. Too early, none in the second, none in the third, not until late in the 4th, even though he's dominating the paint. 3 minutes and 23 seconds, according to my notes, picked up his 3rd foul in the 3rd quarter. That's a pretty good stretch for Clingan, playing as many minutes as he did, locking down the paint he did. He was phenomenal. I think, let me talk Shaedon Sharpe, and then I'll give you. I'm working on a take that I don't want to be too hot, too spicy, because I don't want to overreact to these games so early in the season. But what I loved about Sharpe's game was the variety. His first bucket comes on a drive, then he gets a back cut, he hits a pull-up mid-range jumper, he hits a pull-up 3, and the pull-up 3 he took when he was already missed his first 2. He's 0 for 3, steps into a 3 confidently off the dribble and hits it. He has a turnover on a drive, but then he goes right back at Julius Randle in the first half after he just got the ball stripped from him on drive and finishes physical through contact against Randle. Late in the first half, hits a fading mid-range jumper, then hits a little pull-up midi hits a little pull-up mid-range jumper, hits a catch-and-shoot 3. Like, he was scoring in a variety of ways. Late in the game, it's like he's attacking, right? He decides he's going to get downhill. So he gets himself into the paint. And then they go under because they've seen him attack, hits a pull-up 3. As soon as they give him space, hits a quick pull-up 3 off the dribble. Then, again, when he gets a single coverage late in the 4th quarter, drives. And then he knows he has it. Again, single coverage, draws a foul. And he drove, at the end of that game, to draw a foul. He drove to draw a foul. He didn't drive to score. He drove to draw a foul because he's like, this dude can't guard me. I'm going to get contact. It's going to work. That's the mark of someone who knows how to score, right? He's scoring in a variety of ways. He didn't shoot. This wasn't like an exceptional shooting game from Sharpe. 3 of 10 from 3. I would say if there is a concern about his game and sort of the bigger picture stuff, it's like, is he ever going to be a high-level 3-point shooter? Aesthetically, his jumper looks great. He hasn't been at any point yet like a really, really knockdown shooter. If he's not that, he still has a lot of creativity and a lot of athleticism. He can be a good player, but I think if you're talking like really big picture stuff with Sharpe, like the highest end, the shooting will have to get there. But he's freaking 9 of 13 on 2s. He's 9 of 13 on 2s and took 7 free throws. Like, dude can score. I'm not super worried about that. He had the freaking 33. But like, again, if you're nitpicking and you're like, is this dude, if you're really dreaming about what Shaedon Sharpe can be, you have to think about kind of the high end stuff. Here's what I'll say. Here's the sort of take that I am brewing. I am wary when guys have career nights to say, Shaedon Sharpe career high, Donovan Clingan the best game he's ever played. I'm wary to say this is the level they can play at, and this will be what they do from now on, right? I think that's a little silly. I think I've watched enough basketball to know that when guys have really good games, they're probably playing a little bit above what their normal will be. So I don't want to say like the future is here, print it, let's go. But I will say this. For the first time over the last 2 seasons in the post-Damian Lillard era, the future of the Blazers does not feel as theoretical. You don't need to squint. You can look at it. It's a 7'2" dude who locks down the paint, and it's this multi-level athletic scorer in Shaedon Sharpe. Are they Are these two dudes the guys who like get them to the promised land? I don't know. That is like maybe too lofty to say after a freaking game 13 of the season in November, right? I am not ready to cook up that hot a level of a take, but here's the one I am willing to cook up is saying if the future isn't here, at least tonight, you knew what the future looks like. When they get there, how they get there, that's what it looks like. And let me be clear what I mean by that. It is Donovan Clingan, elite paint protector, Shaedon Sharpe, go-to scorer, and a bevy of big wings around them. Zolano Banton, Chris Murray playing late in this game, alongside Jeremy Grant, Tumani Kamara, and Denny Avdia. A bevy of big athletic wings that can play defense and give you a chance to do what you need to do. A true rim protecting center, and a go-to level wing scorer that can get you points when you need him, including when the team threatens in the final 2.5 minutes. It isn't going to work every time, but instead of a theoretical formula, I've used the metaphor of like, you don't know what's over the hill with the Blazers. Like you have an idea of what's over the hill, but you don't even know what's on the other side yet. You could guess. This felt like a game where you got a glimpse over the hill. This felt like a game where, for a brief period, you bounced up high enough in the back seat of the car, and you could see the other side of the hill as you gaze out on the horizon and say, yeah, it looks like that. That's what it looks like. It looks like Donovan Clingan, a dominant paint presence, and it looks like Shaedon Sharpe, the go-to athletic scorer who can score, who can go get his own buckets when you need him to. And it looks like a bunch of dudes who are 6'7" around them to be able to play with force and pace on defense. Ball pressure and physicality. That's the future is maybe not. I don't want to like I said, I'm wary to say when guys play a career best game to say this is it works, proof of concept. I don't want to do that necessarily. I think that's premature. But I don't think it's premature to say if you're looking for what it could look like, this is the game to show you what it could look like. This is the path. This is the blueprint. Can they repeat this? I don't know. But on Tuesday night, they won a game by shooting 56% from three. And it felt like, yeah, sure. I mean, that's just a wild outlier game. Congratulations. Fun, enjoyable, all that. But like, you're probably not going to do that too many other times. The best shooting night of any team had in the regular season, in the NBA this season. You're probably not going to do that again. This wasn't that. This was just punking the Wolves by being more physical, by being really dominant in the opening 6 minutes defensively of the fourth quarter, and Shaedon Sharpe bringing you home and making sure the Wolves didn't threaten. And sure, Minnesota missed a bunch of shots, and you maybe got some shot variance luck in this game, but you allowed yourself to have shot variance luck by being tough and shutting down the paint. If you can't score at the rim, it changes the calculation, and the Wolves couldn't do it. This was as fun a game as the Blazers have had in a while, because Shaedon Sharpe's dunk was massive, Donovan Clingan's blocks were massive, and they did this without some sort of weird bizarreness. They did this on the backs of the youngsters who you hope are part of what's next. Shaedon Sharpe brought them home, Donovan Clingan locked it down, and you win going away late because those dudes made sure that it wasn't sketchy in the final 2 minutes. I also think Chauncey Billups made some good decisions in this game. I think he made some with a shorthanded group, or with some starters out, and typical starters out in this group, and Rob Williams out. He made some decisions that he had to make. He kind of landed on them, maybe not right away, but he figured out what worked. We should give him credit for pressing the right buttons in this game. And I'll offer a little update on Anthony Simons. We don't know much, but here is the latest on what we know about Ant. I'll share that, not here now, but I will share that on the other side. Join me in the third segment. First, though, let's talk about Gametime. It's a place for buying last-minute tickets. What makes Gametime so great is they got a whole bunch of features that make it easy for you to save on going to the events you want to go to. So if you want to go to sporting events or concerts, comedy shows, live theater, whatever it is, Gametime is the spot to make it easier to save on what you want to go check out. They've got Gametime Picks, which means you open up the app, you search for what you want to go to, the venue comes up right there on your phone in a very clean, intuitive, easy to use app. and you'll see the little Game Time picks icon, the little green G on there. And those picks are saying, you want to sit close? This is our pick for the best deal you're going to get. You want to sit a little further back? Here's another great deal. You want to sit in the back? Here's another great deal. Plus, I like to toggle in the all-in pricing feature so you get the total upfront cost, so you don't get to check out with any surprise fees. What you see is what you get. You're not going to get a weird convenience fee because the convenience is already baked right in there. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use that redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. This game was this was a special game from two youngsters. This was a special game that showed you a glimpse of the Blazers' future. It finally came into, at least briefly, very clear vision of what it could be. But part of what it could be is that Chauncey Billups played sort of what I'll call like the Joe Cronin philosophy. You know what Joe Cronin loves? A 6'7" dude who can't shoot. I'm kidding. I'm not actually kidding. That is sort of what the player he likes. But Billups was without Anthony Simons. Here's the update on Anthony Simons. When he was ruled out yesterday, they said it was a chest injury. They're calling it today an illness. Chauncey Billups said that he talked to Ant today, and Ant was doing okay, but he's just not feeling right. He's not feeling well enough to play. He was not at the arena. What you do when someone is not feeling well, keep him at home. Make sure that if what they're dealing with is contagious, it doesn't spread. Like it wasn't like he was at the arena and not feeling well. He's at home, so no real updates. Chauncey did not make it seem like this was a long-term thing, but he also offered no real timeline, right? It's just like he's not doing well enough to play now. The end. So we don't really have an update on Ant. I hope he is okay because that was a scary moment when he left the game the other night. DeAndre Ayton doesn't play in this game because he's still dealing with a sprained finger. Rob Williams doesn't play in this game because it's the second night of a back-to-back, and it sounds like Rob Williams is not going to play both sides of a back-to-back this season. Billups, when I pressed him on it before the game, said, well, at least for a while. he was like, maybe not forever this year, but at least for a while. But to me, that reads like Rob Williams, no back-to-backs, which very believable, right? Like he's played 41 games combined in the last two seasons prior to this one. So like you want him available to play. So, but Billups is shorthanded, and he goes with this starting group. Scoot, Shea, Jeremy Grant, Tumani Kamara, Donovan Clingan. But the first guys off the bench are Duop Reith and Delano Banton and Avdia and Ryan Rupert, right? That's gonna be their 9. Eventually Rupert's okay, that's not really working out. Let's try Jabari Walker. Okay. And Jabari Walker, that's not working out. Jabari gets a quick hook, and they go with Chris Murray. And Chris Murray plays 19 minutes. Finished with 6 points and 4 rebounds, kind of a nondescript box score, but he was plus 17 in his 19 minutes. And I do think plus minus in any single game setting is so dependent on like, I was on the court when they made the 3-pointers, or like I was on the court when the other team did the bricks. I don't think it's like truly telling, but Chris helped in this game. He helped. Plus minus aside, like we can ignore that. I'm sorry I shared it with you. But he helped because Chris's physicality allowed them to put someone on Julius Randle that at least made it a little bit harder. And it also allowed, because he could guard Julius Randle a little bit and use sort of some of his quickness and a lot of really just his physicality and his smarts there, it allowed Tumani Kamara to play other spots and pressure the ball. It allowed Jeremy Grant to not be on that matchup with Randle and pressure the ball sort of away from that very specific matchup, and allowed them to go small and have a little bit of Chris Murray even in minutes where he was like sort of nominally the center playing with Rudy Gobert and like not get punked too bad. He let them play in small lineups. He let them play some just sort of him at traditional more power forward-y lineups, and he let them play to their sort of identity, right? Scoot Henderson played 27 minutes. He finished with 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, but he wasn't very good. This wasn't like a terrible Scoot night, but he had 5 turnovers, and Delano Banton came in and was very clearly the Blazers' best guard, the best option at guard, because they were letting Shaedon Sharpe initiate a bunch of stuff down the stretch. Like, it was going to be a Shea game. So then you're playing all of your minutes with the guys who are getting minutes at the end of the through the second half. Chris Murray, Delano Banton, Jeremy Grant, Tumani Kamara, and Denny Avdia. It's 5 dudes who are like 6'7" to 6'9", depending on how tall Delano is. I think he's like 6'6", 6'7", but like bigger, with some ball handling skills, with some ability to play defense. Delano Banton has been, I don't think he's a great on-ball defender, but he's disruptive as getting in passing lanes and using his length. Like, he's way up there in steals per 36 minutes, I'll tell you that. And he had another 2 steals tonight. Tumani Kamara had 3 steals. Jeremy Grant, Chauncey Billups specifically singled him out for playing really good defense in this game. Obviously, those guys pressuring the ball, knowing that Donovan Clingan is locking down the paint, he was great. Duop Reith played early in the game. He got that that early stint, but they didn't go back to him. They did not try it again. They said, okay, that didn't work. We're not going to play you in the second half. We're going the minutes we play without Donovan Clingan are going to be small ball minutes, and we're not going to be too worried about Naz Reid and Julius Randle, because we're going to put wings on them and we're going to play with physicality. I thought Billups pressed the right buttons tonight. Sure, like if the Wolves make threes, it feels a little bit different and all that, right? But the process was good, and that's like the big thing for the Blazers. Are they doing things the right way? And I think after, a bad game on Sunday, they've bounced back. And Tuesday's a little bit weird, right? They just shot the ball so dang well. But they were competitive, then they played the right way and gave themselves, were able to win a game because of incredible shooting, but also put themselves in a position because they played well. This was much more rewarding for me. Wednesday night was much more rewarding. It was much more fun because they didn't win the game by shooting well. They shot 9 of 25 from 3. They shot 36%. It's like right around league-ish average, right? That's like an average shooting night. They had 20 turnovers. It wasn't like they played this super clean game. What they played was gritty. What they played was tough. What they played was a game where they held the opponent to 1 of 11 shooting to open the fourth quarter in just 2 minutes over the first 5.5 minutes of the fourth quarter to give themselves a chance to keep themselves just enough ahead that Shaedon Sharpe could deliver a win late, and they were up 5 as opposed to down 5, right? Like, they weren't scrambling. They held the lead because of their defense. Like I said, this is sort of the vision, right? The reason that Joe Cronin has loaded up on a bunch of 6'7" wings who can't shoot is because he loves athletes and size and defensive pressure. That's his preference. You put that around your dynamic scorer, you put that around a really big rim protector, all of a sudden you have the makings of a roster that makes a little sense. It's not perfect sense. The Blazers are going to struggle to shoot on a bunch of nights and yada, yada, yada. But I think, like, without worrying too much about when other teams have their own barrage of threes and all the challenges that brings, right? This was, you could see the vision tonight. You could see the vision. And if there's ever a time to be appreciative of the vision, it's a game like this. This was a game where it's like, I get it. I see what they're going for. Who knows what the other side looks like, but I know where they would like the road to lead. It was very clear watching this game where they would like the road to lead. Okay, tomorrow's show, Justin Verrier of The Ringer is going to join the program. Should be a fun conversation with one of Portland's newest residents and a longtime basketball writer, podcaster, editor, media member. Come back for that one. That's what we do. 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. This was a fun freaking Blazer game, and this was a really solid 2-day stretch for a team that looked like they were in trouble just a few days ago. Enjoy it because you have to. Hold on to it. I appreciate you listening. Tell your friends about the program. Do all that stuff. Come back for tomorrow's show. Talk to you soon.